少なくとも末法時代ではないようだ。だが
An innkeeper, Ray, beats up some rookie cultivators and tries to bully them. She mentions a special access ticket to get inside one of her special inn rooms, and her hero Ouriku finds his way inside because he has this ticket. A man named Kai enters Ouriku's room, asking how he got the access ticket, so Ouriku reveals that he simply got it from an old man, whom he helped to flirt with Ray and get lucky with her. Next day, Ray meets her elder, who challenges her to sell 100 radishes in a day, at a ridiculous price. She accepts the challenge but struggles to sell anything. Kai and Ouriku meet Ray and learn about her condition, after which Ouriku's slave Ochu shows up and mentions that he got robbed by some bandits. Ouriku then strikes a deal with Ray to sell her radishes in exchange for regular food. Now Ouriku runs a scam and convinces everyone to buy 100 radishes that he claims are blessed with secret magic. He succeeds with ease and earns a lot of money, so Ray rewards him with a special gold coin. The next day, Ouriku, Kai, and Ochu compete in the cultivation competition, and we learn that the age limit for this contest is 12 years. Everyone in the team happens to meet this requirement, and then they walk on the golden bridge and come across a cursed fountain. It shocks anyone who touches it, but Ouriku beats the fountain simply by placing the dirt from his shoes into the fountain. Everyone looks on in shock as the dirt turns to gold. Now, the others do the same as Ouriku, but then we meet the goddess Obu, who has designed the competition. She simply laughs because she knows how tough it's going to get. Suddenly, the bridge starts to collapse and our heroes barely manage to escape to the other side. They find some directions through a maze and cross it to reach a fantasy village. The team is greeted by beautiful women and delicious food. The other competitors also reach the dining room, and that's when a jealous man named Shushin makes his introduction. He reveals that he's a prince just like Kai, but this leads to Ouriku insulting the other wizards. They attack our heroes, but suddenly, a mysterious ninja shows up on Ouriku's command. Seeing Ouriku's skills makes a fat boy named Bunho his fan, and he begs to be let into his team. However, Bunho gets rejected, so he walks off to find something that he can stuff into his face. Now our heroes sit and discuss how to flourish in this village because there's no means of currency and the people only recognize kind deeds. The next day, Bunho goes to the team and reveals that Aunt Ryu has had a fight with the mayor's wife because they are both quarreling over the same man. Kai puts his mind to work and states that the only solution is to have Aunt Ryu apologize to the mayor's wife. However, Ouriku states that he would much rather see both the women make out in front of him. Meanwhile, Obu tries to get the attention of her elders, but they don't acknowledge her despite her seductive techniques. Now, Kai sorts out the issues between the mayor's women, but he also learns from Bunho that Ochu had a huge bag of money that was given to him from Shushin. Ouriku hears about this, so he decides to have a word with Ochu regarding his loyalty. Ouriku presents the money that Kai had given him, and this prompts Ochu to take the money and leave. Ouriku finally realizes that his slave was never loyal to him in the first place. Time passes by and the competition gets tougher to deal with. Despite this, Ouriku carries on with the mission plan he has in mind. He makes a great progress and it makes the competitors jealous of him. They try to stop Ouriku in his tracks, but he keeps using his personal ninja to beat them up. Now the ninja asks for money for her services, but Ouriku doesn't want to pay her with a special gold coin because it is too valuable for him. Ouriku tries to convince the mayor to start using currency, but it's difficult because he doesn't recognize the concept of money. Ouriku is out of options, so he gives the ninja a key that doesn't have any rarity value. The ninja turns out to be Rei, who was testing Ouriku all this time, so she allows him to pass through a cave. Our hero makes it to the end of the cave, where he finds some valuable treasures left behind by Obu. Later in the snowy mountains, Kai faces off against an overpowered ice monster, but it's too strong for him, so he loses the fight. Luckily, Ouriku shows up with a mystic frost sword and unleashes its full powers, much to Obu's surprise. He goes savage mode against the monster and is able to defeat it with ease. However, the frost sword breaks after completing its task. So Obu shows up to understand how Ouriku found the sword. She seems dramatic at first, but then Ouriku tempts her with a gold block and she chases after it, eventually bumping into her elder, Lemoto. He scolds her for being useless and cuts her salary for the next 20 years. Now Lemoto holds a meeting for the elders to figure out what to do with the cultivators. Eventually, they decide to choose the winner through a voting system, but Lemoto and Obu are absent from the poll. Now all the participants are summoned by the leaders and tested when they stand on a magical seal. Kai and Shushin impress everyone, but the most powerful candidate is Ouriku, who summons the brightest light from the seal. The elders make their judgment and choose 3 participants, but Ouriku is surprisingly left out of consideration, much to everyone's shock and confusion. Ochu, Bunho, and Shushin move ahead as the chosen ones, and Ouriku plans an evil rebellion for this betrayal. That's when a cute slave shows up and explains to Ouriku that he possesses the heavenly Reiken spirit, which is the rarest quality of them all. Ouriku basks in the glory of this discovery, and then he flaunts his golden coin in front of the gods. Lemuru tells Ouriku that he can ask for whatever he wants in exchange for this coin, but our hero keeps making excessive demands. Lemuru tells Ouriku to lower his expectations, so he eventually asks to be a successor disciple to the Spirit Blade clan. However, the only mentor available for him is Obu. She begins as Ouriku's teacher, but also keeps flirting with him in order to seduce him. Our hero doesn't like this kind of harassment, so he asks her to focus on the task at hand. Obu takes Ouriku through the air and explains her status amongst the gods. However, Ouriku quickly realizes that she is the lowest form of a goddess. Regardless, our hero decides to enter her mansion, which is actually more like a dojo. At night, Ouriku starts studying under Obu, and she is impressed by his talent. Ouriku says he wants to become a god, but Obu says it's impossible and cracks some dirty jokes. 2 years pass by and Ouriku has made himself used to his new life. But he also needs to deal with Obu, who is shown to be a drunkard. It's time for a cloud class, and the goddess Cowan begins a gloomy lesson, but is admired by her students. Ouriku doesn't enjoy these classes, and he hates the food being served here, so he goes to the forest. Here he bumps into Rei, who gives him some of her food. They sit and talk about Kai, who has become an elite warrior now, with key energy. Ouriku is jealous of Kai, so Rei decides to train him in Obu's absence. They start by racing each other, after which Rei teaches our hero how to channel his key energy. An intense sequence follows, where Ouriku manages to get stronger, and then he heads home to rest. However, he wakes up next to Obu, who tries to get freaky with him. Ouriku goes to meet Rei, but Obu calls her a fraud out of jealousy. Our hero accidentally lets this out in front of Rei, so she goes to confront Obu immediately. Rei challenges the sultry goddess to a battle and wins with ease in hilarious fashion. As her prize, Obu is ready to let Rei do whatever she wants to her, but Rei decides to let Ouriku enjoy his goddess. Obu is fine with our hero having his way with her as well, but he simply asks her to teach him some serious cultivation. Obu feels offended, so she offers to reach out hero-amorphic bones, which is achieved through multiple medicinal baths. Ouriku takes his bath and gets ready for his lesson, but Obu teases him for a bit and reveals that she will only start teaching him in the next day. Training kicks off, but these skills are much more harder to master than Ouriku had imagined. More time passes by, and Ouriku becomes better at the amorphic bones technique, but starts losing his other skills in the process. He can't afford to lose more powers to his seductive mentor, so he asks Rei for some help instead. She starts off by teaching him some jumping techniques, but Ouriku wants to learn more, so he trains with a monster bear fiercely. After a thrilling session, Ouriku comes back home but is shocked to see Obu reading a novel that isn't dirty. She tells him that he's ready to use the sacred sanguine berry, so he readily agrees to go to the Azure Cloud Peak to harvest it. Meanwhile, Elder Ryuken is asked by Elder Gaku to help our hero, but he bluntly refuses. Luckily, Town suggests taking Ouriku and some other participants to the Azure Cloud Peak, and Gaku thinks it's a great idea. Our hero tricks his new bear buddy in the middle of their training, and then he goes to meet Gaku for the trip. Here he is reunited with some of the wizards, including Ochu, who wears women's clothes because they fit him better. There's no time to waste, so the students join Gaku as they make their way to the peak. It's a tiring journey, but the team doesn't lose hope and continues with the mission. On the way, Bunho accidentally eats the wrong kind of berry, so Gaku tells everyone to remember their herbal lessons. Suddenly the team hears noises, and Gaku warns everyone about level 2 monsters lurking nearby. Ouriku doesn't really think much of it, because he finds these monsters boring, and it shocks Gaku. Suddenly a white fox monster appears from the bushes. Everyone else is scared to see this beast, but Ouriku fights it with hilarious intensity. The team realizes that the fox is just a friendly beast, but our hero takes it down to avoid suspicion. Later, Gaku realizes that Ouriku isn't as fast as the others, so he allows him to catch up to the team. Ouriku acts very casual about everything, but then some goblins arrive to attack the team. Ochu sees this as a great opportunity to impress the girls in the team, but he is then confronted by an army of gorilla monsters. Gaku keeps the gorillas busy while the team tries to make an escape. However, it's of no use as a horned tiger demon shows up as well. The girls are scared to face it, but Ouriku simply taunts the demon with some mean words. He even goes on to beat it up, much to his team's surprise. Now the gorillas come chasing after Gaku, but Ouriku easily defeats them as well. Gaku is injured from his battle, so Obu is summoned to help him out. She commends Ouriku for his strength and Gaku for his leadership, but also teases Gaku with seductive words before she goes on a rampage collecting sanguine berries. The elders aren't very happy with Obu, but realize that she had left books for Ouriku to study so that he could become stronger than the others. Now the team comes to thank Ouriku for his efforts, but he acts rude with them because he had to get out of his bath. Now Bunho arrives because he wants to learn sword fighting from Ouriku, but our hero mistakes it to be a creepy invitation to bathe together. Anyway, the training session kicks off and Bunho is shown to be weak, so Ouriku tries to anger him by insulting his father. This works out perfectly, as Bunho is able to unleash immense strength through his sword as a result of his anger. The boys train hard, but Ouriku takes it a step too far and beats up his disciple without mercy. However, he realizes that Bunho could have melted his bones with a direct hit. The next day, our hero peeps on Rei in bed, so she beats him up immediately. He reasons that he was only using inner observation, but Rei explains that there's a different way to practice it. She transfers some of her ki to Ouriku and asks him to navigate through the branches of energy in front of him. Time passes by as Ouriku trains Bunho and he is surprised to see how skillful the fatty has become with his swordsmanship. One day, Ouriku decides to take Bunho and Rei to the Spirit Lake Peak so that they can undergo some serious training. He even asks Rei for tips, but she slaps him for always interrupting her in the middle of the night. Now Ouriku tries to channel his inner ki, but gets possessed by the power. Luckily, Rei snaps him out of it and congratulates him for moving up a level. Now Ouriku gets the permission cleared to visit the Spirit Lake Peak after a witty war of words with the concerned elder. The team begins their journey by fighting some snakes and monsters, but then Rei tells the boys about the legend of the nine-tailed fox. That's when she reveals that this fox is actually a part of her, which is why she has the powers of a goddess. Now Ouriku is summoned by the elders and he thinks that it's because he has written some dirty novels about Kan and the other female wizards. The truth is that the elder, Gokankai, wants to see Ouriku because of his skills. He introduces himself as a friend of Obu, but our hero isn't able to understand how they know each other. After Gokankai reveals his black skin, Ouriku speculates that Obu must have loved Gokankai's body and technique. Later, Gokankai uses inner observance to assess Ouriku and is amazed to see his progress. He also goes on to explain that Obu helped him out during his time of need, and this makes Ouriku suspect Gokankai's relationship with her even more. Now Obu tells Ouriku about the dangers of wanting to extend his lifespan, and she uses her own personal example to help him understand. Our hero doesn't believe that Obu can be so selfless, but Rei reminds him that Obu is his teacher, so it is her obligation. Now a villain named Shinjo is confronted by the elders for misleading other sects and causing their downfall under the pretense of extended living. He refutes these accusations, but he is presented with proof by the others. He panics for a bit, and then Obu also shows up to rub it in his face. With no other option, Shinjo challenges Obu to a fight and summons a relic sword to boost his chances. Obu eventually decides to accept the challenge, and the elders agree to let the winner choose what is to be done with the loser. The duo is transported to a battlefield and they lay down the terms of their fight. Ouriku decides to start a betting session on his fight, and even Obu wants in on the action. The battle eventually begins and Obu shows off her skills, but Shinjo attacks her with his relic sword. He manages to destroy Obu's sword with ease, but then she summons a plant stem and counters him fiercely. Shinjo refuses to give up, so he unleashes an energy ball upon Obu. Luckily, she fights back with her own burst of powers. The battle rages for a while, but it's eventually Obu who emerges victorious. Shinjo grows tired, so Obu taunts him and reasons why she deserves to have this relic sword. Defeated and embarrassed, Shinjo leaves the scene, but is confronted by his boss Kosho, who insults him. Shinjo attacks Kosho out of anger, but the boss threatens him with a sword and turns him into a donkey with his powers. Now the elders discuss the importance of having peace in their land, so they decide to have a test for all the existing cultivators. Later, some of Kosho's men follow after Ouriku, but he gives them all the slip and literally shocks them by using the fox piece. He later goes to talk to Obu for more advice on his powers, so she uses an attack on him. It does nothing to Ouriku, so Obu feels like he's already in the 9th stage of amorphic bones. Later, Ouriku has a meal at the restaurant, but is insulted by a maid who says he doesn't look like he's strong. Ouriku decides to test the maid's skills, so he uses his sword on her. She defends herself immediately, so Ouriku says he will train under her as well. Later, the elders announce the upcoming test, so Ouriku goes to Obu to ask for help. She ends up giving him a legendary sword that disguised as a toothpick. Ouriku meets the sword spirit and jokes around, but Obu tells him not to push his luck with her. Now the cultivators set out for the test to prove their merits. Like, share, and subscribe for more recaps. See you soon!